Hi everyone, this is Samit. You're watching Talks on Ground. In recent weeks and months, you have seen multiple actions by the US against India, including the fee hike on H1B, the limit on the students that can come into US universities. Of course, all of this is still under contention. There can be court cases that will stop some of this. There have been sanctions against an Indian refinery, Rosneft, though by the EU. There is this Hire Act and so on. All of this leads us to a question as to what is really going on. So, the way I look at it is we can call it the India and the US technology war, the US tech versus Indian tech. And the reason I say this is because the main focus of this administration in the US is to take a lead in the AI, the artificial intelligence that China has taken a lead on. And they have also taken a lead on EVs and solar and so on. So, what the US wants is really to kind of bring back manufacturing into their country and also to push back some of the advancements that Indians have been doing. Of course, not at the same scale as the Chinese and not in the same verticals. But in the verticals that Indians have done well, Indians have actually beaten both US and China. And yes, I'm talking about fintech and I'm talking about digital payments. In just 8 or 9 years, India is now from nowhere. India accounts for almost 55% of digital payments in the world. 55%. And there is nothing close to what India has in term with its UPI payment network. In the same way, the Indian public stack, the tech stack, as they say, with Jan Dhan accounts, the Aadhaar, and so on, is causing a lot of discomfort in the US because India can supply all of this for pretty much free to the global south, and that undercuts the US economy or the US hegemony in the global south and even in India. So, what the US is doing is really to undercut the Indian technology growth. Now, the question is it going to work? And what is really going on? Is it here to stay? Are there any pivots around the corner? Is the US going to backtrack? Is India going to backtrack? How much will India hurt? And will US hurt more? So these are some of the questions that come to mind. Now, before we go forward, I want to take you through some basic data about the US and maybe the US and Indian tech industry synergy. So, to start with, let's start with FANG. As you know, these are the big companies in the US. They have trillions and trillions of dollars in valuation. We all know them. We all use one or more of these every day. And a lot of people will tell you that we can't live without these. But if you look at the extreme right, you have Google, and they have been straddled by AI. And if you heard of Perplexity, you're going to sit up and take notice because Perplexity is causing a major, major problem for Google. We will cover that in a later video, but I wanted to show you that these companies that I've listed here, there are many more, of course, they are big stars of the US tech domain, and therefore they lead the world, leave alone India. However, if you go into the nitty gritty, there are some interesting numbers. So, as far as India is concerned, it is estimated, and these are not official numbers, but you can say that the US easily earns 20 to 30 billion dollars a year directly from Indian consumers by providing their services. On the other hand, if you look at the other aspect, there is no comparison between the market cap. I mean, yes, TCS has big market cap in Indian terms, and it's a very big IT services company. But the US big tech really dwarfs. Just one of these companies will dwarf the whole industry from India. Uh, so that is something that India cannot compete against. However, If you think about it, the Indian tech worker and the Indian market is a key component of this US domination of technology across the world, especially in the front end services and the front end products, like the one we are using right now, YouTube, which is a Google product. So this is where India doesn't really have um, a well-known, internationally well-known or dominating product. However, there is a company that has thrown its hat in the ring. You might have heard of it, and it's called Zoho. And in fact, we're going to focus a little bit on what Zoho is going to do for India. There's almost 30 years in the game. They've been around for a long time. It's a smallish company from a big tech perspective, but it's big enough for it to kind of drive home any product that which it can build as a winner. And it has a large presence across a lot of nations. So Zoho, interesting name, catchy name, I must say, has come out with a product called Aratai, and Aratai is like a um, WhatsApp competitor, and this competitor has been launched, uh, and I think this is going to be very very interesting because the whole game behind uh, all that is going on. Of course, IT serves as a lot of input in every company and every service that we have today. But on the front end, you have these companies that run the social media that generate a lot of data. Now, this data is what is powering the AI revolution. Without data, there is nothing. And therefore, one of the key contention between the US and the Indian governments has been about data localization. If Indian data is not available to, the models that the Americans build, it's going to definitely fail in India to a large extent, because India is a very diverse country with a lot of different consumer segments and so on, much more complicated than, say, a US. But at the same time, the Indian product space doesn't really have a lot of companies that are competing on the AI stage as yet, especially in the consumer facing side. Now, I just wanted to show you this Aratai. Aratai is a very interesting Tamil name. It just means chit chat. And I have downloaded this, and I really urge you to do that. They also have another product called Ula, which is a browser, and I think that's something that I will try. I recently tried Perplexity's Comet, and it's an amazing browser. I mean, there is no comparison between Chrome and Comet, and I would really recommend you to try Comet. I'm not advocating a company, but I'm just sharing my experience. So, as I was saying, Zoho is like thrown a gauntlet at Microsoft, and it says that we can do whatever Microsoft does and we can do it better. Really like you to look this company up because its story is very, very interesting. The founder, Sridhar Vembu, has made this company from pretty much a village. And in this village in Tamil Nadu, uh, they've trained people. They've been there for almost like 25 years, 30 years, and it's a really made in India product, and you can see the numbers on their website as I'm showing you. And what I really like about this company, and uh, I heard the company chairman, or rather the chief scientist, recently, and he makes a lot of sense. He's a very down to earth guy. He knows what he's doing. He's not looking for any public funding, which is so different from other companies. And especially, he was like, I don't want to take anybody's money. I'm not interested. I don't need it, especially now that I have a lot of clients and I have enough profits to fund my research, and I've got all of these products in pipeline. So Aratai is just one. There's a browser, and all of this will ensure that the data of Indians remains in India. Now, remember, China did this way back in 2005, I think, when they came up with WeChat and all these other, the browser and so on. And they shut out Microsoft and Google and all of these companies. So that really changed the game for China from a technology perspective. And they've been at it for a long time, but India can really catch up. So, coming back to our original contention, this so called war between India and America is a very interesting developing situation, and you can see that there is things that the US is doing now. So US giants have hit pause on India data centers under the weight of trade uncertainty. You can read between the lines. They've been put on hold for over 2 months. Hyperscalers may revisit their plans, blah blah blah. So they are playing together. So that much for free trade and freedom of action. So they're all playing according to what Trump is saying. Yes, there is some pressure back on the Trump administration not to go too far when it comes to blocking out H-1B workers and so on. But I really think that ship has sailed, and it's a good thing for India. It's a very good thing, and I'll tell you why. Because number one, India has been scaling back its dependence on the US market. Of course, it's very dependent on the US market even now from a services standpoint, and I'm talking about IT services. But at the same time, India also services the whole globe. Number one. Number two, the talent that India has, the volume, the numbers, is really not matched by anyone. And because India has been at it for 30, 40 years, trust me, the depth and the width of Indian talent is really, really unmatchable. And the US is going to find out if they stick with these policies for the next 2 years, they will see either the big tech profits will come down, or their cost will really skyrocket, or the innovation will be stalled, whatever. I don't know how it'll play out. Eventually, they will land on their feet with their indigenous workers and whatever. But in the interim, India can break free from these shackles of the American dependence that they have in terms of finding clients and also for finding their feet in terms of their career. So, I have a couple of slides on this. Um, so, what are the advantages that India has that even the US will have a problem competing against? So, at scale, the Indian tech has a major advantage in terms of cost because the Indian workers are much cheaper, and the products and the services that you price are at international levels because tech is a really new industry. So, you charge at the latest prices, and obviously Google and the others, they set the prices. So a TCS doesn't have to give its products at cheapest rates. It can just undercut the US industry. Secondly, as we talked about, the talent pool is unmatched. And then there is a ecosystem depth because we've been at it for so long. There are 2,000 GCCs in India. These are global capacity centers and capability centers, if I'm not mistaken. And these cater to some real work in these lot of these technology companies across the world, primarily from the US. So a lot of these companies will increase their workers in India for sure, uh, as a result of the blockage of the H-1B. Now, the other aspect is that there is a 24 bar 7 availability when it comes to India. There is a strength that India has when it comes to enterprise services, cyber security. There is a diversified client base. There's a lot of vendor neutrality. One of the things you will see when you look at American industry, they tend to follow the leader, and they will all deal with the same processes, and they will all of course there's innovation, but there is also a lot of copying that goes on to the very T. So So, what is it that's going to happen in the next, say, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? We can't look too far ahead, and there could be a trade deal. A lot of these things could cool down, but I do think some sort of clash is going to happen. Now, in AI, the main the underlying of artificial intelligence is really things like GPUs, things like semiconductors, and things like power generation. Because for data centers, you need a lot of power, you need semiconductors, and you need GPUs to kind of power that data and analyze that data. Now, in all of these things, there's a tug of war between India, China, America, and so on. Of course, US and China are ahead in this game. But India is not sleeping. Indian data center capacity is going up every day. And the fact that the US is curtailing some of its data center giants is just like, trying to pull a lever here and there. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. In my opinion, in the long term, India will win. In the short term, there will be some pain for India as it adjusts to the new reality. And in the medium term, you can see the US coming back to India once it sees, okay, India has started to kind of get out of its grip in terms of dependence and in terms of the products India is catering, pushing out. And Zoho is just one example of that. Trust me, this is a company you should read about, and a company you will really, really enjoy reading the story of. This was Summit from Talks on Ground. I will cover some other aspects of this story. It's developing and it's very important. It's at the core of what is going on in the world today, including in geopolitics. So, we will cover the AI story in a second part at a later date. Do let me know your comments. What other factors do you see? And do you see India surviving, thriving, taking the lead on the US, or do you see India buckling under? Whatever it is, let me know. If you like the video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends and family. This was Samit from Talks on Ground. Good night.